You're standing in a field in what we now call southern Turkey. It's 9500 BC. You're holding a stone-tipped arrow, the same kind your father held, and his father, and his father, going back further than any story you know, for 290,000 years. Every human who ever lived has done what you're about to do. Walk out at dawn. Find the herd. Bring something home. But within 2,000 years, almost nobody on Earth will do this anymore. Not because the animals run out, not because we forget how. The reason is still being argued about, and it might be the strangest thing humans have ever done. Here's what we know. Modern Homo sapiens shows up around 300,000 years ago. For most of that time, the math is brutal, but simple. You follow the food. You eat what walks past you, or what grows where you stop. Archaeologists call this the hunter-gatherer baseline. And every measure we have, height, tooth wear, joint stress, hours spent working, says these people were doing fine. Better than fine. The average forager in 12,000 BC was taller than the average European in 1800 AD. They worked maybe 4 hours a day for food. The rest was sleep, talk, ritual, repair. Then, sometime around 9700 BC, in a strip of land running from the Jordan Valley up through southern Turkey, something breaks. People start putting seeds in the ground on purpose. Wheat, barley, lentils. At a site called Tel Aswad in Syria, archaeologists found domesticated emmer wheat dated to roughly 9500 BC. At Jericho, the walls go up around 9000 BC. Çatalhöyük in Turkey is a city of around 8,000 people by 7100 BC, where the houses are packed so tight you walk across the rooftops. And here's the part that broke the textbooks. This wasn't one invention spreading outward. Farming starts independently in at least 11 places. China, around 7500 BC. 100, New Guinea, around 7,000. The Andes, around 5,000. West Africa, around 3,000. Mexico, around 8,000. Different crops, different climates, different humans who in many cases had no contact with each other, all making the same decision in the same narrow window. Think about what that means. 290,000 years of one way of living. Then, in a blink, everywhere at once, a different one. In 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt is walking on a hill in southeastern Turkey. The hill is called Göbekli Tepe. Local farmers had been plowing around the top for generations and complaining about the stones. Schmidt looks at one of the stones. It's worked, carved. He starts digging. What he finds rewrites the order of human history. At the top of the hill is a complex of stone circles, 20 of them, built around 11,500 years ago. The largest pillars weigh 10 tons. They're shaped like a capital T with arms folded across the front, like figures wrapped in a cloak. Carved into the limestone are foxes, vultures, scorpions, a wild boar with its mouth open. Some of the pillars are 7 meters tall. Some of them are arranged so that on certain nights of the year, a specific star rises directly over the gap between them. And here is the part nobody could explain. The people who built Göbekli Tepe were hunter-gatherers. They had no pottery, no domesticated animals, no farms. They had not yet invented the wheel. To raise those pillars, they would have needed hundreds of people working together, fed somehow for years. Schmidt's theory, and many archaeologists still argue with it, was that the temple came first, that groups of foragers were gathering at this hill for some kind of ceremony 3 or 4 times a year, in numbers larger than any group had ever held before. And to feed them, somebody started planting wheat near the bottom of the hill. To genetic biologists, this matches the data. The wild ancestor of modern bread wheat has been traced to the Karakatag Mountains. They sit 20 miles from Göbekli Tepe. Around 8,000 BC, the people who built the temple buried it. They poured tons of rubble over the pillars and walked away. Within a few hundred years, the same region is full of villages, round mud brick houses, storage pits, hard, worn skeletons. The shift in the bones is immediate. People are shorter. Their teeth are full of cavities. Their backs are damaged from grinding grain. Average lifespan drops by maybe 10 years, and they keep doing it. They never stop. They never go back. Now scale it up. Across the planet, In places that had never heard of each other, the same script plays out. In the Yangtze Valley, a group of people start growing rice in flooded fields around 7500 BC. Their skeletons show the same pattern: shorter, sicker, more cavities. In central Mexico around 7000 BC, somebody takes a wild grass called teosinte, a plant with maybe 6 hard kernels you could barely chew, and starts selecting it. 1,000 years later, it has 50 kernels. 10,000 years later, it's corn. In the New Guinea highlands, taro and banana around 7000 BC. In the Andes, potatoes by 5000 BC. Every one of these populations was eating better, working less, and living longer as hunter-gatherers. Every one of them switched. Anthropologist Jared Diamond once called the move to agriculture, quote, "the worst mistake in the history of the human race." The University of Arkansas studied skeletons from a site in Illinois, where one population switched from foraging to corn farming around 1150 AD. Adult height dropped. Iron deficiency anemia went from rare to common. Dental disease quadrupled. The number of children who died before age 5 doubled. And still, the farms grew. Within 5,000 years of the first planted seed, there were cities. Within 10,000 years, there were empires. There are now 8 billion of us. There would not be 8 billion of us if anyone had gone back. So why did it happen? The honest answer is we don't know. Climate, religion, population pressure, some accident of one group near one hill that everyone else copied because the math of having more children faster beats the math of being healthy. You can take your pick. What we know is that somewhere around 9700 BC, a person who looked exactly like you, with the same brain, the same hands, walked out at dawn holding a stone-tipped arrow. And then one morning instead, they bent down and pushed a seed into the dirt. And nobody on Earth has stopped pushing seeds into dirt since.